The game is Satisfactory, and in this video I'm going to be doing a things I wish I would have known, or I guess you could call it a beginner's guide. There will be some beginner tips, some intermediary tips, maybe a couple advanced tips. We'll see what I throw in. But let me get going here. I was just working on nuclear, so I need to get to my nuclear site. You can see my base in the background there that I've been working on. So I'm pretty much at the end game stage and feel like it's a good time to kind of share what I've learned about the game and some things I wish I would have known. So starting off, I had no expectations for this game. My kid came to me and wanted to play this game. I guess he's seen it and thought it looked cool. So we both got it and played it and liked it, and I've been addicted to it ever since. You want to say hi?
Hi.
So yeah, we're just sitting here making this video real quick. Actually, I have a feeling it won't be a quick video. So I'll go ahead and take this time to say, if any part of this video helps you, please make sure you give the video a like. If you're not one of my subscribers, please be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification to get notified of my new videos when I release them. It helps out my channel, supports my channel, and helps it grow. Also, please forgive any crackles or skips in the audio. When I record as I play the game, I've noticed there tends to be crackling, especially when I hit around this area with all the fog and particle effects and stuff like that as I'm traveling, and my frames per second dips. Right there, just dipped down to 25, so it probably crackled. So please forgive that if that happens during this video. I will put timestamps in the description so you can jump from tip to tip to tip. And I believe YouTube is now putting those timestamps on the timeline bar, so you can kind of hover over it and see the different timestamps. As you know, and then you can just click where you want to go in the video if you want to skip around. Do however you see fit to watch the video, and sit back and enjoy. This game has very good progression. You don't need a tips guide or a beginner's video. You can just play this game. It has very good progression. The game will kind of explain itself. But the point of this video is, there are some things I wish maybe I would have known or could have figured out real quick or fast that would have saved me some time and trouble ahead of time. But this game is very well done. I'm probably going to do a review later on, just because I've enjoyed this game so much. Sing it some praises, show the pros, and there are some very minor cons to the game, but yeah, it has a great progression system. You don't need to watch a video like this or any videos. I would, if you get stuck, what I did is looked up what I needed to look up on the wiki. That was fine. There was very few questions in the time that I played this game that I couldn't figure out myself just from playing the game. Second tip, and hope I got materials to do this, is conveyors. And it's been so long since I used the conveyor. Conveyor pole. So when I first started, I was putting out conveyors like this. I was just doing this, and I had conveyor spaghetti is very common when you first start. It's fine. You can get into organizing your base later after you learn how everything works. But I was just, layers upon layers upon layers of overlapping conveyor systems, like so. And I never realized it until many hours into the game that simply clicking the button once and setting the position, and then you can use your mouse wheel to kind of angle which direction you want. That way you can get smooth curves. I'm not going to go into like proper design, but I'll just real quick, if you step over to the side a little bit, you don't even have to anchor it, and then you can kind of line up so that it's straight and on a 90 degree. If you want to shoot off this way, that way it looks a little better. But once you anchor it like that, once you click, you can set the height just by moving your mouse up and down, and that allows you to get like, multiple layers of conveyors going around, and you don't really have to worry about, if I wanted to come this way, it looking too crazy where it's kind of going through, looking like that where it's going through, versus conveyors going over and under. I didn't know that for a long time, so I just figured that would be a good tip. Also, I use conveyor poles religiously. Not only for just conveyor poles, but also because they're the only ladder in the game right now. Other than containers have ladders on the side, so you can throw containers down. But conveyor poles will allow you to configure your conveyors pretty simply and organize them very well. So I would definitely use conveyor poles, conveyors, and all that stuff. Let me clean this up right now, and I'll get to the next tip. Okay, now that that's all cleaned up, the reason why I'm standing here underneath of my base is because this was the location of my first base. I picked a very large, very flat area near the starting area to put my base down. I figured, man, this will be plenty of room to put whatever I wanted down. In this game, you will expand. You need lots and lots and lots and lots of room. My mindset now is the whole map is my base. Is my mindset now that I'm in endgame. Because really it is. You're just making a main base and an outpost with production. This was my first mining node here for iron, and you know, I had my main base up here, and then I put all my production down here is what I did. But now, you know, take a look at my base now, right? Let's go up here. Hopefully I don't fall to my death. So just kind of, you know, looking at the room that you need. See how this tree is pointing out? I'll get into that in a second. Let's see if I can get up here. Just building this train station, so it's not pretty yet. It's just functional. You know, that's the back half of my base. That's my supply in. My production's on the other side. So as you can see, this is my main base, and I have other outposts, production plants, power plants, stuff like that. So I really consider the world as my base now. So don't be afraid. My point is, don't be afraid to build big. You're going to build big if you play this game. The reason why I say build high is because you don't want to have this stuff in your way. Constant trees. You can't cut the trees down, but like this mountain here is kind of, you know, right in the middle of where I'm putting my truck stations. It looks kind of cool, but that kind of stuff does get annoying, and it does get in your way. And I didn't realize, you know, the skybox is very high, so you can build up pretty high and not have to worry about it. If I had to do it over again, well, maybe not that high. I would just go to the highest point for a large area, maybe higher than this, because you can see it's hitting this rock over here. I'd probably start at the highest point above the treetop and start making my base there, which kind of leads me on to my next point. See all these platforms? Lots and lots of platforms. Concrete, concrete, concrete. Need lots of concrete for platforms. So fortunately, it's all over the place. Concrete, limestone is all over the place on the map. It's very easy to get. If you look at my line, it's one of my lines coming into my storage box for concrete. It's filled up. I can't. It's moving in slow because it's all filled up. My wires are filled. My concrete is completely filled. All those storage units are filled. So I'd have to add more storage units, which I really don't need. Like, it's crazy. I need to set up an overflow so I can get tickets, but all these storage units, which are the small units, because this is one of the first sections of storage I did, are all filled up with concrete. So you will need lots and lots and lots of concrete, but it is very easy to get. So I would focus on that and iron at first. Get that going while you first get going, but don't be afraid. Like, I was always afraid to use platforms. Platforms are going to be an absolute necessity. You cannot build large, complex bases like this without utilizing platforms to align everything. If you're trying to use the ground, it's just going to turn into a big spaghetti noodle mess, and you will eventually get up on platforms. So when you start building your base, build it right, build it up high, build it so you have plenty of room, and you know, you'll get into multiple levels later. And that's the end of that tip, I think. Let's think, what's next? If you're ever lost, or you're not really sure what you should be working on next, you kind of, a lot of times when you finish a big production line and you're like, whew, that was a lot of work, it's running, I'm happy now, what do I do next, is the you know, the thought process you'll have, and you're not sure what to work on next. Work on your MAM here, and get this knocked out. A lot of the stuff that's in here, I think I have mine 100% done now. Let me double check quartz. A lot of the stuff that's in here is very helpful and necessary almost. I'm not going to go into this. I don't want to spoil what's in here too much. But just work on that. Work on what you can. You will be roadblocked by needing certain amounts of progression before you can go forward. But so work on your MAM. Unlock your recipes. Unlock your abilities. I mean, it has stuff like this jetpack in it, right? This jetpack is my favorite thing. It increases your mobility so much. Most of my deaths are from falling from high heights, which you can just boop, you know. Jetpack's very great. There's a lot of good stuff in it, which I'll discuss in a little bit. But work on that. If you're not sure about what to do in your MAM, work on your tier progression. So if you go into your HUD, obviously you have your different tiers. You got tier 0 through 8, or actually 7. There's 8. Okay. You have 0 through 8. Work on these. Get these unlocked. This is basically unlocking the game. This I considered my tutorial. As you're going through this, you're unlocking all these different things that you could use in production. And if they threw all this at you like in a creative mode, you wouldn't know what to do with half of it. You'd get so it would be so tedious trying to figure everything out and how to utilize it. But the way they have the tiers set up is actually pretty well done. By the time you start going through it and unlocking things, you're in the need for the next thing you want to unlock. Always work on your inventory slots too. Inventory slot is like the first thing I always did, just because you never have enough inventory room. As you learn more things or get more stuff, you're going to need more inventory room. I wish I had more. You know, when I do large projects, I'll fill up a bunch of concrete pipes and all kinds of stuff, and I run out quick. But yeah, so for progression, if you're ever lost or not sure what to do, start working on your tiers, getting them unlocked as best you can. Build production lines as needed to get what you're trying to get done. You can utilize this craft bench. If you only got to make like 20 or 30 things, the craft bench is fine. But don't sit here and just sit here and click, click, click. You know, if you're just sitting here holding this button, this is not a fun way to play the game. This game, the production scales like crazy. This game, so you utilize it and get it working for you. I would say a good rule of thumb: if you need more than 100 things long term, build a production line for it and just let it start pumping it out into a container for you. Next tip is make a coupon bin early. So I waited on this. Let me show you what it is. So we have the awesome sink and the awesome shop. So the sink, you feed in your extra materials or whatever. Let me see, what can I feed it? I don't want to feed it anything. I don't want to waste any of this stuff. I got nothing in here I can just toss in there. Ah, here we go, some leaves. Chomp, 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 chomp. So you just feed it in and you get points for what you fed in. Those points convert into coupons. Well, let me print those coupons. It's been a while since I've been here, so I got 25 coupons now, which I think this is cute how you print them out. So now I got 25 coupons. Throw them in my little bin here. Actually, I got 32. Let me buy something. And then you use this awesome shop to buy different things. I would just throw this in early and divert any extras you have over to it. Eventually, in the end game, you'll have smart splitters. I think I have one set up over here. That's all nasty looking because I just kind of threw it together real quick when I got smart splitters. Basically, smart splitter will allow you to select an overflow to your right, left, center, whatever you want. So if this gets backed up, this is my production line. If it gets backed up, then it'll just start sending the extra over into my sink and then generating points for me. So that's a smart thing to do once you get smart splitters. Another way you can do it is when you have your storage containers, have it so that when like your bottom one is full, it'll overflow out or something like that. And there's ways of doing overflows without having smart splitters. But I would definitely start overflowing or just doing it manually. When you get a full tank, just grab an inventory full of stuff and plunk it in here. That way you can start earning things earlier, because I wish, which leads me to my next tip, I wish I would have bought this Satisfactory cart earlier. I seen it and I'm like, oh, that was cute, but I had the Explorer already and I had other vehicles, so I wasn't worried about it. But I didn't realize just how useful this vehicle would be. This is a tip in and of itself, is I would buy this first. This would be my first purchase. As soon as I had platforms of any size up, because you can only really run this vehicle on platforms. The thing that makes it great is you can keep it in your inventory. That's what makes it great. So a lot of times you'll find yourself needing to travel someplace. You need to travel to a place, and then you have to run around for a bit, and then you had left your vehicle back, and you got to run all the way back for your vehicle. Not with this guy. This guy, you just pick it up when you get there. It's in your inventory for when you need it later. It's very fast. It's fast. It's 55 miles per hour, but it does 55 up ramps, down ramps, where a lot of vehicles will kind of stall out going up a ramp. You know, this thing, it's so small, has very little momentum. It's very agile and fast and maneuverable, but only on platforms. You get it into the grass and you're going to slide out. So this is one of my main transportation methods now when I'm working on my base. So that is, I would definitely pick that up first. If not that, I would have picked up, and which I did pick up first, was Foundation's double ramp pack. This thing was made making ramps so much easier than trying to place a ramp. So basically, this is a double ramp here. See how it has a ramp on the top and a ramp on the bottom? To do that manually, you would have to place a ramp, place a platform, attach the ramp to the platform. So you're switching back and forth. You're switching ramp, platform, then you got to rotate them, and it's hard to align them. When you get the double ramps, it's just so easy to click them together. You just bonk, 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 and you can go about your business and make ramps however, wherever you want. So I would say those are your first two purchases: double ramp pack and Satisfactory cart, depending on where you're at. If you don't have a lot of foundations built yet, I would say go ahead and get the double ramp pack. If you do have foundations and you find yourself traveling all over the place, get yourself the factory cart. Myself, really haven't, I think I bought pretty much everything. Wall outlets, I don't even use walls much. Yeah, let me just buy all this stuff. Do some shopping here. Boom. What do I got? 26. Boink. Bought. Alright, now I'll put my extra back in here for now. Okay, on to the next tip. Let me figure out what that is. Okay, for the next tip is biofuel. When you first start out, you'll have biomass burners on the back of your HUD. That's going to be your primary power. And then you'll have to create some extra standalone ones. For me, I think I had the 2 on the back plus 3 on each side, right? So that'd be 6, 7, 8. I had about 8 of these before I finally got into coal. I had 8 of them running my production before I got into coal, and I had plenty of leeway there. So, but yeah, you're gonna have to run them. They take biomass, meaning so like you can burn flowers, you can burn grass, you can go out and cut trees down and get logs. You can then craft that stuff into biofuel. Let's see what we got here. If I could spell bio right. So you can make biomass out of logs, plants, shells, stuff like that. But basically, you're going to be making out of grass and logs. Logs, once you unlock the chainsaw, they're better than grass. And then you take biomass and use that to make solid biofuel. Biomass into solid biofuel, which lasts longer. By the time you get the solid biofuel, you're probably already getting close to getting coal, and you'll be leaving this type of generation for energy behind. But when I first started, I was burning all my grass instead of collecting it. I would have probably stored it, stored my grass and used it for biomass and biologs. And I would have burnt flowers more, because you can burn flower petals, and you get a lot of flower petals starting out. They're all over the place. They're either easy to gather, and they're pretty much only used later for these color cartridges, which I haven't used much yet. Color cartridges are just so you can, let me show you, since it's a little guide. You just click it, and then you get to pick what colors you want. You can edit the colors and make your own, and then it's like a paintball gun, right? That's how you mark your different areas and make, mark your roadways and stuff like that. So flower petals are only used for that. I didn't know what they were used for when I first started, so I didn't realize that they didn't have a big use for anything else. So I would have burnt them first while storing my leaves until I could make biofuel, and then once I could make biofuel, I would have had a bunch of leaves. I wouldn't have had to run around and gather them all. So yeah, my tip here is burn the flowers first over the leaves, then burn the leaves over the logs, make biofuel as soon as you can out of leaves and the logs, and then make biofuel logs, obviously. So burn them flowers up is my tip. Next tip is when you get started, storage is always a thing in this game. You're going to have mass production of producing things. You're going to need storage for it. So when you start out, you'll get these little storage containers here. Let me put it on delete so you can see. These are the little medium storage, then you have these large industrial storage. When you start out, you'll get these. So when I first started, I had 1 or 2 of these, just collecting my materials from my production line. And then, but it grows rapidly. So as you can see, this is my storage unit. This is my storage hub, I should say. So each one of these rows is a different material getting stored. You can see my plastic is full. My pipes look full. Yeah, a lot of it's get full. I gotta go and add more storage or start running some production that requires that stuff. But as you can see, it gets pretty massive pretty quick. So you might want to give a little bit of thought about how you want that, where you want that. Do you want to make a hub or hub? Is that the right word? A hub? What did I see somebody call them? Oh, a bus, like as in a computer, like a bus system. Basically, it's just, a row where you can pull from where data or production goes through. So basically, this would be considered a bus system, what I got here. This is my storage bus, right? So my in comes here, goes up through here, and then across, and then back down. So as this backs up, it'll fill up, and then fill up, and then fill up, and then back up the production line. And then I pull from here. So I guess I'll go over my hub systems since I'm talking about it. But I guess the point I wanted to make is storage is important. So think about how you want it done, how you want it organized. You don't have to put it all in one place like this. You can put different storage things in different areas depending on where you have production. But since I have this, I'll just show you up. Since I'm on this topic, I'll just show you this. So I have my in. All my in is on this side. So everything coming in is coming in here and then merging down and then going in to the bottom area here, filling up my storage containers. And then this is my outputs. So I have a output section here. So this line is always on this level. So this is all going to be, what is that, concrete? This is all going to be concrete. So it just sends it down the line. And then when I want to, I consider this my modular production line. And then when I want to make a production line, I just plop my production down here and I just raise it up to the level of the material that I want and then tap into it with a merger. And then boom, it'll snag what it needs and it's good. The reason why this is modular is if I wanted to change what this machine does, all I have to do is delete that and delete that. Pop another one down, go up to the appropriate slot of where the material is. So right there is copper wire. I got copper pipes. You can see what you're getting if you delete it. So that's my plastic, circuit boards, pipes, steel beams, whatever that is. So as you can see, you can tell what item I have just by doing that. I pop a merger in there. I go up and I pull from it. So this is like a feed conveyor system. And it's modular, so I can change my needs whenever I want, as I see fit. As you can see, all my production units are just pulling out. Oop, I left a card out here. And grab him. Tweak. As you can see, the machines just pull. They're not very active. I think I got a lot of these shut down. Oh no, that's just backed up. Yeah, that's making the stuff needed, the aluminum needed for the tier 5 conveyors. But I'm completely filled up. I filled up my whole storage, and it's just sitting there idle now. And then it goes out, I just have the production going out, and then it connects into the appropriate line. And I don't need all the lines. I just run the line out that I need to feed into. But eventually it'll build out as I make production and my needs change. This will become more of a flushed out hub or bus than this. Oh my god, all these terminologies. So that's kind of my system, which is over time has gotten very complex, and I changed it and reorganized it. But you need to have some kind of storage system, because there will be times I'll drain out this whole stack. It'll be completely filled, and I'll be like, oh, I need to do something. Let me set up 5 production units, start mass producing this thing, and it'll just drain all that out because, you know, I have minimum production set up to it because I didn't need it before. So yeah, just give that some thought as my tip of how you want to set up your storage. This is pretty elaborate. This is like more end game stuff. But if you're thinking about it in the beginning, less changes you'll have to make during your gameplay about how you want it stored out. And also just like look at the size of this. This is pretty minimum. As crazy as this looks, this is really like a minimum setup. You could get way more crazier than this. And this is without any, this is all utility without any looks or designs behind it. This is 100% utility. So if you wanted to make this big and look good, it would be even larger. And for the next tip, don't be afraid to expand. As you can see, I've shown you my base a little bit already, and it's pretty big. Do not be afraid to expand when you're starting out. You know, I was always trying to keep things small and compressed for some reason. I think it just didn't dawn on me that how epically this game scales in production. Like, that's the whole point of this. Like, you start making crazy amounts of production. So don't be afraid to expand out. You'll start out and you'll have to make 2 or 3 machines and interlink them and connect them, and that'll feel like a big project, and that'll take hours. But as the game expands, like, you'll be doing that in 5 or 10 minutes. Your next projects will be 10 or 20 machines for a production line, and you'll be like, oh, that was a cool project. And then after that, it'll be like 50 or 100 or more machines. You'll be doing these huge projects, and you're like, oh my god, the scale of this game just goes crazy, and it's designed to handle that though. So don't be afraid to expand and scale up your production. That's pretty much the point of the game. See, flowers everywhere. Lots of flowers. Always flowers everywhere to pick. Anyway, for my next tip is nodes. These are my first nodes that I attached to. But as you can see, if you hover over them, it says impure. There's 3 different types of nodes. There's impure, normal, and pure. The difference is the amount of materials you'll be able to get out of the node. I don't know that off the top of my head. You could check the wiki. But for example, this is an impure node with an MK2, and it's only getting 60. Where I think if you had like an MK1 or a normal or a pure, it would do 60. So the purer the node, the higher your production per minute will be of whatever that material will be. And that also increases exponentially as you get like Mark 1, Mark 2, Mark 3 miners on them. Also, when you start out, there's going to be like a block, like a rock in the middle of these nodes, right where this machine gets placed. The miners get placed kind of like in the middle of the node. It took me a while to figure it out. I was like, why can't I place this miner down? Like, how am I supposed to place it down? There's a little boulder that you just have to hit F and, or is it F? E, and use your chisel on. You just have to hit it like 4 or 5 times. It's right in the middle, and the boulder will smash, and then you can place your miner down. I don't know why they put that there. Maybe it's going to be something later on. I think there are some that I had to detonate off with blasting material, so maybe that's why they put it there. Later they're going to have it locked behind explosives, like higher end materials or something. But when you start out, it's just something that might confuse new players. Just chisel the node out of the middle, and then you can put your miner down. The next tip is when you're building these production lines and miners, you have to have materials that have to be crafted with a bench. So let me show you what I mean. So in production, You have a craft bench and an equipment workbench. Two different equipment is used to make like your jetpacks and stuff like that. The craft bench is where you could pretty much make any material that you can make in production, but by hand and one at a time. So the tip here is, instead of, where are they at? Oh no, I do have to have the other one, not that one. So instead of bringing your little manual miners, these portable miners, you always will have a stack or two of plate and iron rods, which is what's needed to make these. And this, what's used to make these, is the same exact thing. It's the same exact material. So what I was doing is I was making, you know, 8 portable miners and then trying to run out and plant these things down. Instead of doing that, just bring the raw materials, plop one of these guys down, and build them on site, you know? I don't know why I didn't think of that right away, but it was just something that wasn't completely obvious to me right away. Instead of filling my inventory up with 8 slots of the portable miners, I could just, you know, have a couple stacks of the materials and then build the miners that I needed as I needed them. And things are so easy to delete. That's the other thing you gotta remember is, you know, things are easy to delete. You don't lose any materials for building it and then taking away. It's 100% no loss. So build those workstations as you need them on site, and don't clog up your inventory unnecessarily is the tip for this one. Right, and since we're talking about the workshop here, let me go through and just kind of give you some feedback. Chainsaw was very good for getting wood and getting the bio burner. You have to get it anyway, so why not just make it and use it? But I didn't use it for very long. You will need lots of beacons. They're more than just marking things down, so beacons are used to mark like waypoints. Very handy to do. So if you find a node, you can just plop a beacon, put a name, iron or normal, give it a color if you want. You know, I usually try to use like iron rust color for that. But you know, they're used for crafting ingredients, for ammo and all kinds of different weird things. So you will need lots of beacons to make them. Color gun, I haven't used it that much. The Xeno Basher, is that the Zapper's the first one, right? Yeah, Zapper's the first one. Basher's very nice. It's the best melee weapon they have in the game. Where is it? Right here. I love how it opens up like that. That's so cool. This thing is strong. I have the gun, but it's like, I think it's like 4 hits of that gun equals 1 hit of this. So it's a definitely a good weapon to have. Factory cart, obviously, I love that. I spoke about that earlier. I didn't use the gas filter mask too much. Jetpack I use religiously. I love the jetpack. That's the thing that's always on my back. Before the jetpack, you do have parachutes. I would always have 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 of them equipped. That's just in case you fall off, you can hit it and you won't die. The Blade Runners are very nice. I love the Blade Runners. They make you run faster and jump a little higher. But you can't have them equipped at the same time as the jetpack, which makes me never use them. I never use them because of that. So I really wish they would give your body more expansions. Like as you go on, you get more hand slots, but I do wish you had more body slots so I could equip a gas mask, the Blade Runners, and the jetpack or something like that, instead of just having to use the jetpack, which is what I love. It's the most utilized piece of equipment I have. So the jetpack is great. As far as vehicles, the Explorer is great. I don't think you can craft that here. I even forget how to craft the Explorer. I think it's craft out of the workbench. Let me check. And if you want to see in my previous videos, I did a test run. I was just driving the Explorer around when I got it. If you want to see what that looks like, go in my video history. It's just like a dune buggy to get you there and back fast. It's for off-road, right? So you can use your little factory cart for when you're on platforms, but what about when you need to explore the world? That's where the Explorer comes in. That thing's great for doing that. Yeah, so jetpack is great, explorer's great, the little cart is great. Playing multiplayer is fun, right? So I bought this because my son was like, hey, there's this cool game I want to try out. And he bought it with I think his birthday money or something. And he was like, why don't you play it with me? So I went ahead and bought a copy. I didn't know if I'd like this game or whatever, but he wanted to play with me, so I bought it. It looked kind of cool. Point being, we were in multiplayer, and it was horrible. Like, he would appear to be here, but actually be all the way down there. He'd be like, hey, come follow me. I'm like, all right, I'm following you. And he'd be standing right in front of me and start running, and I'd follow him. But, you know, because it desynced, I'd be following him, and he'd just run straight when he was actually running off that way or something. It was horrible trying to play together, and I was like, this game is so good, but multiplayer is so bad, until I discovered a setting. I did a quick Google search and was like, why is multiplayer so laggy, da-da-da-da? And it turns out that there is a setting you need to change. So if you go into your options, I think it's in gameplay, network quality. By default, it's set down to like low or medium, I think. What this means is how much bandwidth I think your network's going to be, which is really weird to have this in a game. Most games don't have this type of setting. Put it on ultra, that means you can use a lot of bandwidth, and then that means it's going to update more often. I'm not sure if the host or the client needs to have it on ultra, probably the host more than the client, but we both set ours to ultra, and boom, it ran perfect and smooth, just as you would expect in a multiplayer game. So if you're playing multiplayer, want to play multiplayer, highly suggest fiddling around with that setting until you get it right, or else you're going to have a very bad experience when it's a very good game. So just wanted to throw that out there. Multiplayer is very good. You got to have your network setting up higher if you're having desync or lag issues. Alright, so next tip, since we're talking about UI stuff, one thing I didn't realize for a while, I was taking screenshots normally, but if you hit P, you can go in photo mode, which is great. So you got your rule of thirds, if anybody's familiar with photography. When you're taking a picture, you kind of want the things in the corners where the lines meet. That's like your focal points for your eyes. It's called the rule of thirds. Anyway, they have that grid on there. You can easily adjust your field of view. So if you want like a wide view, just using your mouse screen without having to go in, or your mouse wheel without having to go into the UI and changing your field. Oh my God, changing your field of view around. You can toggle high res on off with your mouse. Toggle the UI on and off for taking screenshots. Take a photo is easy, just click. So it's very nice little photo mode if you want to take a picture instead of trying to do it with the UI all over the place. It's not really an ugly UI. It's not a bad UI. It's pretty minimalist. It could be a little more minimalist. I think they have like big bars and stuff that are unneeded. But yeah, so P for photo mode. I guess I'll continue on. One thing I didn't realize for a long time was R locks and unlocks vehicles. I thought it was a bug. I would log out of the game and log back in for a while. And what I mean by locks unlocks is, see how I can move my mouse around to rotate my camera, right? So I can look over there and then steer over there. If you accidentally hit R, which is very close, it'll lock your view in. So now I'm like stuck. I can't move my camera. And I would usually lock it in forward without knowing it. I don't know why it's locking it in backwards on this guy. That's weird. That's locking it in backwards on this cart. Yeah, it's just like locking it in this direction, and I can't change it. So I didn't realize that, and I was like, my camera's stuck. What's going on? And I'd restart the game to fix it when it was just all I had to do was hit R. So I didn't realize that at first. So that's my next tip. The other UI thing that was big for me is shift to toggle run. Instead of having to hold shift down, that's running, that's walking. There's no stamina drain in this game. You're going to be running everywhere. You're always going to want to be running. Very seldom are you going to want to walk slow. I always want to be running. in my opinion, they should just have an always run setting, hold shift to walk or something. They should reverse it. But there is a toggle where you can just hit shift once and then you're running, and you're always running until you hit shift again, even if you stop and you start running. So it's a nice toggle option. So I think it's in the settings. I haven't been in here for a while. Gameplay. Boop, 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 boop. Was it in controls? Here it is, yeah. Hold to sprint is on by default, I think. So make sure you uncheck that, hit apply, and then all you got to do is hit the shift one time and you're good. You're sprinting pretty much wherever you go, whatever you do. Even if you stop and then start again, you don't have to hit shift again. So you're just always running. That was a big help for me because my pinky was getting sore from constantly holding shift. When I started, I was worried about that big mana ray flying thing smacking in and destroying my base that are built up high. He won't do that. He'll clip right through it, so you don't have to worry about him. Yeah, nothing's going to destroy your base. Actually, you can use your... Actually, this is another good tip. You can utilize these platforms and parts of your base to protect you from the various creatures in the game that shoot at you. They don't damage your base or anything that you can build, so it basically just becomes a shield from them. And then, speaking of the storage that we were just discussing, what I used the most when I started out, what I found that I need the most of was screws, which I always called nails. But screws, I needed tons and tons of screws. I was always short on screws, so do it up when it comes to screws. I think after screws, when I was starting out, the thing I needed the most was iron plates. I actually had 2 full sets of storage, one here and one there, for iron plates to get them both filled up because I needed so many of them when I was starting out. And then after iron plates was the iron rods would probably be next, and also concrete. You need a lot of concrete, but concrete's not used a lot for production per se until later game. But when you're starting out, you need lots of platforms and ramps and stuff like that. So that's where a lot of your concrete is going to go to. Fortunately, like I said earlier, there's a lot of limestone nodes, so that's really not a problem as long as you have your miners mining out the limestone and producing it into concrete. And this tip is about production, so it's about the lights on the units. In real life production, they utilize lighting systems on poles to signal something's wrong or the status of the machine. So it was very cool to see that in this game, using the same type of system. This one's a little more basic, so basically you can do a quick spot check on the status of your production line just by looking at the lights, right? So I can look at these lights and I kind of know what's going on a little bit. Green means it's good and it's running. Yellow means it's powered, it's capable of running, but it's not producing anything for some reason. Either it's out of a supply or the wrong things in there. There's something stopping it from producing, but it has power. And then if you disconnect the power line, you get red. Red means it's not producing, it doesn't have power. So good way, just looking down your lines, you can see my line's a little neglected, lots of yellow. I have a lot of machines turned off, or they're getting blocked up lines for my storage being full. A lot of different reasons. But I've kind of been neglecting my production line because I've been working on nuclear power, so I've been off on the other side of the map a lot. So I need to take care of that, but that's what the lines, or the lights are for your production machines. Good way of just glancing, seeing if everything's correct. This next tip is going to be my personal preference. But, you know, this is a design choice is what I'm saying. But this is how I do it. I have my production here, but I don't have all of my production here. This is my more complex production or things I need to mass produce. But for things like raw material resources, I prefer to produce them on site. So I'll create these little outposts, and this is a very simple one. I don't even have platforms, but concrete, for example. So I have my miner, I have it going and making concrete and then splitting into one line and feeding into my concrete storage over there. Same thing for whatever this is, metal I guess down here. Again, this is why the jetpack is great. So if you see here, I have my ore being mined. I have it immediately split off, so it's optimized. I think I have 60 from the miner, and then 30 and 30 for each smelter, making 60. So I'm smelting it here on site. Got a little storage buffer there, and then it's going up in here, which I consider this on site or an outpost. It's going in and producing. So it goes over into these production lines and produces, and then I created a small bus system here. So all this is my pipe and nail run, right? So all these machines are taking that ore and producing pipe. Now I want some pipe, but not all. I want some pipe and some nails. So then it'll take that pipe, and I think what I did is I put a smart splitter here to shoot pipe over when this is full. So any excess pipe gets shot over, and then this, I believe, is making nails out of the pipe. So it's all backed up right now because my storage bins are full of nails and full of pipe, and that's why everything's backed up. I need to either start utilizing them, or I need to create more storage units, just so I can store more of them. I might make some more storage units, but the point of this tip is utilize your on-site resources. You can make little outposts like this, you know, far away from your plant. You run some electricity to it, which this one doesn't have power for some reason. See the light, see the signals? Yeah, that one didn't even have power for whatever reason. The whole time it wasn't running. That's why the lights are good. That's why that's a good tip. Always check your lighting. When I set this up, I should have did a double check before I left, and I would have seen that. But yeah, set up outposts. Don't be afraid to set up production right on site, and then feed the results of that production into your storage instead of putting everything into your storage. And then, you know, I'd have to set all this up in my production line. That would have made my production line insanely longer for no real reason when I can just do it here. So that's my next tip. Don't be afraid to design some remote production sites to make some simple things, or, you know, not so simple. And my next tip, probably more of a UI tip, but X. If you hit X, boom, it brings up a little menu where you can see everything. So if you wanted to look at what you have, like, how do I make screws again? Because you'll do this a lot. Like, a lot of the stuff I have in my head just from playing the game, but more complex, like smart plating. I know it's plates, but I forget what else. So, oh, it's a rotor and a plate and a reinforced iron plate. Okay, now I know. Now I remember. But you can look up anything and see what it takes to make it. That way you kind of can get a sense. It tells you I need 36 of these, 28 of these, 5 of these, and the outcome is 2 of these. You can also populate a to-do list. So let's say you wanted 100 oscillators. Hit your to-do list, boom. To make 2 of them, it's going to tell you what you need and what you have. I haven't really found a easy way. If anybody knows an easy way of adding more quantity to this, but, you know, other than clicking it, I think you can control click the quantity. Let me double check while I'm here with you guys. Shift click, you added 20. Control click is normal. Alt click is normal. So shift allowed me to bulk it. Same thing for remove, if you want to bulk it out. So that's the only thing I know how to do. There's no way of entering the numbers, but, you know, if you needed 100 of these, boom, remove it out. Now you know you need 1,800 quartz, you need 1,400 cables, you know, you need 250 iron plates. So it's a good way of doing math fast. Like, a lot of what I was doing was, okay, I was doing it all in my head and using a calculator and going, okay, how much of these do I need? When you can just pop it in here, as many as you want. Oh, I need some of these too. Yeah, I'll just make some of them. And then you got a track of how many you currently have and how many you need, and then you can kind of plan it out a little better. So, little tip there. It also has, you know, all your equipment. You can do the same thing with all your equipment. All your buildings, what you need for foundations, your vehicles, tractor, explorer, truck, train, freight car. Trains this is a train station where you can set trains to autopilot and deliver product. I think my product's all fooled up. Yeah, I got tons of aluminum ingots in there. But you can set up train systems, truck AI systems. It's a really, really fun game. But I guess this tip is it's worth it. To me, it's worth the money. This feels like a full flushed out game already, and it's still early access. They're still building it. The trains are still being worked on. You can tell the trains were a little buggy trying to figure out how the AI system works. I think they'll change that a little bit. If, like, for example, the geothermal generators, the UI for them says this is a work in progress, but it does work. If you check your power line when you install it, you'll see you'll get a power increase. So, like, it's a functional piece of equipment. It just doesn't have all the bits and pieces of the UI put together yet. You know, so they're definitely still working on this game. But it really feels like right now it feels like a viable game. Like I never felt shortcut. I never felt at any point like, oh, that sucks because it's still early access and they need to work on it. Like, I feel like I got a full-fledged game already. So very excited to see what they do with the game. It's a very good-looking game, high detail graphics. Like, all the production line have all these little. You can just sit there and look at them. They have all these little intricacies and details about them. As you can tell, it's crazy. It runs really good. When I first started the game, I was impressed at how I was always getting 60 frames per second. Like, I was constantly getting 60 frames per second. Then I realized, like, that's because they expect you to make this. They have to make it run good. Like, look at that craziness. Drop me down to 40. You know, so it will later on when you get big, huge designs with a lot of movement and motion and things. I got probably 100 conveyor lines moving thousands of items, production lines with little moving parts. All that stuff, you know, takes a hit on your FPS. My system's a little old too. I got a 1070 video card with a i5 CPU, Intel i5. So old card, old CPU, and it's still running this game great. And I've never crashed once. I've never had any kind of crash or hang up or glitch that you know, made me have to really restart the game, other than, you know, a couple things out of my own ignorance. But it ran great. I actually increased. Oh, here comes a train. Toot toot. I love the horn. Hold on, I'll get my next tip for a second. Did a good job with the horn sound on a train. Anyway, so the next tip is autosave. So if you, I guess the point for the autosave is I haven't crashed in 100+ hours. This game has never crashed on me, so I felt comfortable with increasing the autosave time, because when it does autosave, when you start getting a large build going, it does. There's like a 3-second little pause where it's auto-saving, and that can get annoying if that's happening every 5 or 10 minutes. So you can just hit escape, go to options, gameplay, and bump your auto-save up. So I went from 10 to 15 to 20. I would probably feel comfortable going to 30 at this point. It really depends on, you know, what amount of safety do you want. Because basically what it does is gives you 3 saves, and auto-save 1, 2, and 3, your A, B, and C. And it just rotates through them, so that way you have 3 valid saves in case one gets corrupt, I guess. But yeah, you can lower that down if the game's not crashing for you. And for the final and most important tip, if you found any of these segments helpful, please make sure to like the video. If you're not a subscriber, go ahead and subscribe to my channel. You know, do the bell notification thing if you want to get notified of my videos. If you want to see my previous videos, I keep all my videos that I do in playlists. So Satisfactory will have its own playlist. You know, games like Terraria will have its own playlist. You know, whatever game that I'm playing and making videos on, I'll throw it in a playlist. That way, if you want just that game, you can look through my playlist and you know, look, instead of having to go through my channel looking for all the different videos. They're all separated into playlists, nice and easy, categorized. Try to make everything as easy as I can for people. But yeah, hopefully you enjoyed the video. That was everything that I found that I wish I would have known, or, you know, whatever. I imagine there's probably a lot of other guides out there, but I just kind of, you know, wanted to share my experience, my point of view with the game. Again, I think the game's worth it. I'll probably do a review video. I'm probably going to do a train video, because trains were a little complex in how they worked, so I could see a lot of people probably wanting help with that, or, you know, needing to figure out how to hook up trains. So keep your eye out for that. Hit that notification thing if those types of videos might interest you. That way you'll get notification when I upload them. Here comes the train again. But yeah, I'm having fun playing this game. I am getting pulled away a little bit. Terraria just updated. So I've been playing that, so I'm probably gonna have to put this on pause for a little bit. My kid was excited about the update for Terraria, so we've been playing that last day or so. So I'll probably be doing that at least until he gets bored, or until I get bored. Hopefully I don't get too sucked into that again, because I was right in the middle of playing this, and you know, that's life. That's a good kind of problems to have. I don't have enough time for all the games that I want to play. Good problems to have, right? Alright, anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. Hopefully it was helpful to you, and I will see you guys in the next one.